a pop-up with a voting
Okay.
window for you.
Okay. Okay.
You're all set.
And, all right, then on my telephone screen, I just see the agenda. I guess that's what's,
That's correct.
I don't see any people's faces or anything. Is that normal?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am, do you think we should go ahead and get started and just have Mr. Miller give a voice vote?
As chair, I believe that's your call.
Okay. I would just ask Mr. Miller later in the week to maybe call you guys and work on the login to the.
Yes, and we always ask people to log in 30 minutes before so we can help them also. But if
Right.
he wants to call, we're more than happy to help him try to figure it out at a different
Right.
time.
So, Mr. Miller, you're all set. You have us on Zoom and you can see what the items are and we're ready to move. Mr. Miller,
Yes,
you all set to go ahead and press on?
yes, I am.
All right, let me go ahead and get this thing started. I have a thing to read here. Video conference for the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting. That's on 21 September 2020. Thanks for joining us for the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission's video conference meeting. We have a few announcements to make regarding the virtual meeting. If the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting will be stopped and reconvened once the audio connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the Commission's next regular scheduled meeting on 19 October 2020 at 1:30 via teleconference. The agenda for today's meeting is located on okc.gov. Anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item, public hearing, or to speak under citizens to be heard, please call 405-297-2531 or email chastitywalsh@okc.gov. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes to comment. I ask that all the participants, except the commission members, keep the phones on mute until they are recognized to speak. Commissioners will be able to ask questions or comment at any time during the meeting. So now we need to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And let's see here. Here it is. Let's go to Commissioner Varnell. Okay, Commissioner Littlefield.
Here.
Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Hale. Is Commissioner Hale here? Admin, do you see Mr. Hale?
It appears to be signed in to both meeting and PrimeGov, but I'm not seeing. Oh, it looks like he's trying to talk to us, but it's not working.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
There you are.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hale. We'll go to Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner George. Mr. George, are you still with us?
Chairman, he's muted.
Me or I show I'm up?
No, him.
Oh, okay. Mr. George, could you unmute and verify you're here?
Unmuted now.
Hey,
Yes, I'm here.
there you go. All right, thank
Yep,
you.
okay, good.
And over to Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we need a motion concerning the approval of the minutes of the August 17, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve.
From
We
Shoeline.
have a motion from Commissioner Schuline to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, the second came from Commissioner Russell, and it's going to pop up here in a second, I believe. Do we have a voting screen there, admin?
The voting functions on PrimeGov should be under the control of someone there in the Public Works Department.
Right, that's why I was asking staff, are we ready to press on with the voting, or you like a little bit more time?
The voting screen will be up momentarily.
Okay, then we'll stand by. Well, seeing as we do have the motion and we do have the second, let's see, does anybody have anything to talk about with it on the meeting minutes while we're waiting? Okay, well, let's just stand by.
Mr. Chairman, you can go ahead and do a roll call vote until they have time to get it up and going.
Let's see here. Let me have a roll call vote. We'll
Oh,
start.
there we go. I think she has it up now.
You think, there it comes. Okay, we had Commissioner Schuline move it, and Commissioner Russell was our second.
My voting button just went away.
Yeah, I know.
Yep, mine did too.
It'll come back.
Okay, you can click escape on your keyboard or go down to your
There
control.
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Although it's waiting on my.
Mine too.
laptop.
There's
There's
James.
Schuline.
There's me. All right.
We have no talk on this item. Here comes our vote, so you can go ahead and vote yea or nay, please, on this item. It was approved by Schuline, seconded by Russell. Let's see here, Mr. Littlefield, Mr. Schuline, and Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mr. Miller's a voice. He's an aye or yay. And then Mr. Littlefield.
I'm not getting a vote button. I vote aye.
Okay. And there it is. Let's see. Pop up here and tell us the results. The item has passed.
There we go.
Now we're moving. All right, then we go on now to the report on licensed taxi and record services from July, August, and September. Do we have somebody on here to give that presentation?
Commissioner Kula, the quarterly report for vehicle for hire is supposed to be presented at the October meeting.
Oh, that's right. This is not October yet. I'm ready to move on with 2020 and get it over. Pardon me.
Aye.
Unanimous. No.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, then we'll go on to the consent docket. There are 3 items on the consent docket. Is there anybody out there that wants to talk against an item on the consent docket? Okay, I don't show anything. Anybody wanted to speak? So staff, can we have your input on the consent docket?
All the items on the docket are recommended for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on any of the items.
All right, thank you very much. Can I have a motion to concerning item 4, the consent docket, please? Oh, we do have it here. Commissioner Varnell has moved to approve it, and Commissioner Hale has seconded it. Do we have any talk on this item from the traffic commissioners? Okay, you can go ahead and vote for item 4, the consent docket. Mr.
Mr.
Miller,
Chairman, I vote aye.
thank you very much. And Mr. Littlefield?
Aye.
Okay. And there it is. Item has passed. So the consent docket has passed. Now we'll go ahead and move on to item 5. Items for individual consideration. We have 5A, Billy McMillan, to consider a request to, 1, change the speed limit on North Sarah Road between Northwest Expressway and Northwest 164th Street from 40 miles per hour to 50 miles per hour, or 2, change the speed limit on North Sarah Road between Northwest Expressway and Northwest 164th Street from 40 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour. And we see that Billy McMillan is wanted to speak on this item. Or are you there? Billy McMillan? Billy McMillan, are you there? Well, all right, then let's just go ahead and wait on this. Staff, do you have any input?
Okay, you've got our comments before you. On page 4 of your report in the recommendation section, we've got a discussion as far as a typical speed limit assigned on rural section line roadways. Typically, the use of a 40 or 45 mile, a 45 or a 50 mile an hour limit is not uncommon for roads such as this. We do note that in the miles to the north of 164th Street in the city of Piedmont, Sarah Road's posted at 45 miles an hour, and to the south side of Northwest Expressway, it is also posted at 45 miles an hour. The section that Ms. McMillan has sent in covers about a 3.5 mile stretch between the Expressway and Northwest 164th. Now, the 50 mile an hour speed limit that she requested is actually closer to our observed 85th percentile speed. However, we as staff have submitted a 45 mile an hour speed limit, which is consistent with the postings to the north and to the south. And the 45 mile an hour speed limit would be a better long-term solution as far as, looking at an increased speed limit, because in the future, should that roadway be widened and curbs added, it would be, that speed limit could be kept during that or after the roadway was improved. So action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on this request.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask one more time, is Billy McMillan on the call here? Okay. All right, can I have a motion concerning item 5A?
Varnell moves to approve the 45 mile an hour speed limit.
We have a motion from Commissioner Varnell to approve item 5A subpoint 2.
Based on the 45, not the 50.
Right, that's, subpoint 2 is the 45 mile per hour increase. Do we have a second on this one?
Second.
Who was that, please? I'm sorry.
Littlefield.
I'm sorry, say again.
Littlefield.
Littlefield, okay, thank you. Okay, do we have, so we have a motion from Commissioner Varnell to approve item 5A subpoint 2, seconded by Commissioner Littlefield. Do we have any talk on this item? Okay, we'll go ahead. There's Varnell, there's Littlefield. It's going to be coming up here to vote. So can I have your votes, please, to approve item 5A subpoint 2?
Mr. Chairman, I vote aye.
Okay, we have an aye from Mr. Miller. Mr. Littlefield?
I vote aye.
Mr. Littlefield has an aye. Okay, and the item has passed. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on now to item 5B. Valerie McMurray, Ground Route Development LLC, to consider requests for a weekday parking restriction effective from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the north side of East Park Place from 150 feet east of the east curb line of North Lottie Avenue to North K Avenue, and 2, the south side of East Park Place from North Lottie Avenue to North Kate Avenue. Valerie, are you on here?
I am here, sir. Thank you.
Outstanding, thank you. Ma'am, if I could have your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, my name is Valerie McMurray, and I'm also a resident and a developer on East Park, which is in the Cumbersons neighborhood. And that house that's being built right there on that corner is the house. And as a couple of weeks ago, one of the trucks was hit. The challenges have been happening is that the students from OU are parking over in that area on both sides. And that was a utility worker just on this past Friday. They can't get through there. So there's been times when trash was left in the area. Trash is all over the community most of the time. We have children in that neighborhood, very small children on that block, and it's not conducive, and it doesn't give an opportunity to bring quality residents that are looking to want to build in that area because it's not appealing. And so we're really trying to help clean up and bring value to not only the neighbors, but for individuals who want to move into that subdivision. And so we're working with the city. They're coming in, cleaning up some of the areas where the trees are hanging down. You can't even see the speed signs there. And it's just a mess going on right now with all of that traffic. That street is too small for all of that traffic. And there are very small children living in that area. So the kids can't even play outside in the area.
Okay, do you have anything else, ma'am?
Not at this time, sir. Just want to make a big difference.
All right, thank you for your effort. Is there anybody else out there wanting to speak on item 5B? Okay, staff, can we have your input, please?
All right, you've got our comments before you. Basically, what you're looking at is a continuation of an item that was presented at the August 17th meeting, in which case Ms. McMurray had asked for a parking restriction on the north side of East Park Place for the 150 feet closest to North Lottie Avenue. The request before you today basically extends that same weekday parking restriction across the remainder of East Park Place on both sides of the road between Lottie and Kate. The petition that the applicant submitted indicates neighborhood consensus with what's being requested. So action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission.
All right, thank you, staff. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5B from Commissioner Miller. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Schuline. Okay, do we have any talk on this item?
I would like to
comment.
just state what I said last meeting, which is removing cars from the street does make it more of a thoroughfare to speed through the neighborhood, which again, if there are small children, that's an issue. So I don't think that this is as wise as it seems.
And,
Thank you. Okay.
and once again, as I was saying earlier, the sidewalks are all broken up on that south side. New sidewalks need to be put in. And the area is just not conducive for all of that traffic. and it just tears down the value of tears down worse the value of the neighborhood that's supposed to be trying to enhance it and impact it in a positive manner. People can't even get out of their driveways because they're blocked. They can't pick up trash because the trash trucks can't get through.
I understand. I think that's an issue with a lot of different neighborhoods. I mean, my neighborhood doesn't have any sidewalks at all, so I'm forced into the street with my stroller as well. But removing cars from the street does make it a faster street. The more dangerous a street seems, the safer it is. The safer a street seems, the more dangerous it is as far as car speeds go. So that's my whole point. And I completely admire everything that you're trying to do to clean up that neighborhood and to make it better. I just think that this is not necessarily the solution to the problem.
Yeah, but it's hard to speed down that street because you're coming directly off of Lottie to turn on that street. So an individual can't even get momentum to speed, if that makes any sense, on that area, that corner. They can't go fast because they're making a turn.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I think another commissioner wanted to say something.
Yes, I wanted to echo Commissioner Cornett's just thoughts. There's a possibility that removing cars parked along both sides of the street could become problematic in the future with speeding traffic. And I think that I'm sending that as just a cautionary.
But as I said, you can't speed because you're turning right off of Lottie. So there's not a way that a person, because the area that we're asking is only just that block. So it's,
How long,
I'm sorry.
how long is that block?
How long is that block, sir? I'm not, it's a very small block. Can we pull that up, sir?
Could you guess how many houses are like on one side of the street?
Yes, we're speaking of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably there are 6 houses on each side. So that's why I said the block is not that long to pick up momentum to speed.
So it is a relatively short block.
It's short, but it's hazardous because it's a corner where cars are crowded and you can't turn. You can't even see if a person is coming. If a person is walking with all of that traffic, if someone turn, it's just a very dangerous, hazardous place to have all of that traffic.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments from traffic commissioners? Okay, we're ready to press on. We have a motion to approve item 5B from Commissioner Miller with a second from Commissioner Schuline. Go ahead and have your votes, please. Mr. Miller?
Aye, sir.
Mr. Littlefield?
In this case, aye.
Okay, we have an aye. Okay, the item has passed.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you for your time. Okay, we now go to item 6, comments from citizens. Anybody out there wanting to talk? Doesn't show any speakers popping up. Okay, we'll go ahead and go on now to item 7, reports and other items from the commissioners, commission committee, staff, and councilor's office. So we'll go ahead and go with Ward 1, Commissioner Varnell.
I don't have any comments, but I do have a question. Do we know if we're having our next meeting virtually or in person yet?
This is Stuart. So far as I know, I have not heard one way or the other. I know that the city's masking ordinance is in effect through October 20th. So considering your next meeting is just days before that, it's hard to say for sure.
Is city council still meeting virtually?
Yes, they are meeting virtually still.
Okay.
I have nothing else. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go on to Commissioner Littlefield.
Yeah, I'll be as brief as possible. In Ward 2, you all will recall on the Western Avenue Business District, I don't remember the streets between 41st and 40 something, 47th Street, something like that. There are cachanes on the north end and the south end of that corridor. It was part of the bond project that Councilman Shadid worked on so diligently. We had a discussion with the Public Works Director, Eric Wenger, and some other folks within the past week or two, and a decision has been made to remove those cachanes because they're more of they've proven to be more of just a destructive factor to vehicles than a traffic calming element standing in and of itself. And I worked with Councilman Cooper in agreement on this because we have a trade-off. And the trade-off is that there will be crosswalks marked on both the north end and the south ends with flashing LED crosswalk lighting, which both of those things are a traffic calming measure. And all of the crosswalks in that corridor between those 2 points will be refurbished and brought back up to speed. So I think the trade-off is good. It's going to be a good test to see what impact it has. So that's Ward 2 issue. I'd like to make a comment about our ASAP subcommittee. I had a very, very nice visit with Commissioner Cornett. She's very knowledgeable of the program. She's done some paperwork and some studying before we even made the acknowledgement last week that we were going to visit. And we both come to the agreement, and we've done this also in conjunction visiting with Commissioner Schuline, that there's something's missing. We need to do a little bit more work. And I think what we've identified between the three of us is what's missing are all the elements in traffic calming that are the trees, the shrubs, the painting on the streets, the simple things that we've all talked about where 2 or 3 of them can probably make an impact. We're not organized in how to get that message to neighbors, applicants that come before the traffic management division, and it's there. We need to work on how to get that. And I think George Roscoe could be effective in that. So what I'm suggesting today, and I don't know the formality, but JB Schuline and I have agreed that Commissioner Cornett's desire to come on the subcommittee would be a very valuable asset. I don't know if that would be an appointment by myself as chairman, or if Chairman Kula would do that, or if this is something we need to vote on. But I think that Commissioner Cornett could bring some real value into working with us and trying and really getting this thing going once and for all.
Yeah, I would think that I could just add her to the traffic calming subcommittee. Does anybody have any comments about that? Any concerns or any recommendations or anything, or we would just make that appointment? I don't think it's.
I'll speak in that
Okay,
I am
yes, ma'am.
excited to be part of that, because I think that's ultimately what we're here to help with. If we, just my short time since May, the majority of people who are coming in are looking for traffic calming measures, not stop signs, but they're asking for stop signs. And so I'd rather get them down the right path on the get-go, rather than us having to install another stop sign or whatever if it's not necessary.
She's got my vote.
Thank you, Rad.
Who could have guessed that?
He's got my vote.
All right, so if there's nobody against it, it's not a vote for, it's just anybody would have a problem with that. I don't see anything wrong with having three people on there. It's not a quorum, so they can't make anything on their own. They would just press on with their research and trying to find what the right solution is for traffic calming in Oklahoma City. All right, so the record could just show that that our Commissioner Cornett has been added to the traffic calming working group subcommittee.
And I would like to reiterate that our focus is getting the what City Council approved with the ASAP program, getting it working. We don't intend to do any additional work discovering traffic calming measures. We're just trying to find a way to start implementing them. And of course, what we'll do as we have meetings, from month to month or whenever they are, we'll make sure that we have a report to the balance of the commission each month.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Littlefield?
I'm done. Thanks.
Anybody else just want to speak on this subject?
Well, I'll go. I'm the next report up anyhow. And I've said before that I have them in my yard, and several of the neighborhoods next to us have started purchasing just those simple, kind of like election signs that says "Drive like your children live here," and something to that effect that is cheap, easy, could be made accessible to neighbors or neighborhoods to pick up. Might be a real good first measure just to get signage out there for people. And if they have a neighborhood with a problem street, might be a real cheap program that ASAP, we could use some of the ASAP funds to make available to residents. Just an idea to the ASAP subcommittee.
Thank you. Those are exactly the kinds of things that, not specifically that one, but those are the kinds of things that we've already got an inventory of. And it's time to get that knowledge out to these neighborhoods.
Yeah, and there's a wide variety of them available with different signage and different stuff to the effect of finding something like that maybe we could even fund through the ASAP program to the neighborhoods that have issues where we're not asking them to spend $10,000 to slow down traffic. Anyway.
Okay. And Mr. Russell, do you have anything else, sir?
That's it.
Hey, we go over to Commissioner Hale. Commissioner.
You just had Montauk today.
There he is. No, his mouth is moving. No, we still can't hear you, sir. It doesn't. Are we okay to move on? All right, thank you, sir. Okay, we're going now to Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, and to Commissioner Miller.
One comment. As far as the ASAP program, some of these items, as long as we remember that we don't want to establish liability, some of these things, if they're not recognized through some channels, either a national organization or something as a calming device, there's an issue will come back on us about being the liability to put something out in the roadway. And that's the only comment I have. We need to be careful there.
Okay, we go to Commissioner George.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I don't really have anything except I guess I need to apologize for missing several of the last meetings. My work schedule has been really difficult on Monday afternoon. So I'm glad to be back today, and I'll be back next month.
Very good. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, and over to Commissioner Cornett.
I don't have anything additional to add. I think that Stuart has a report back to me and the commission on what he learned on Broadway between 13th and 23rd, Northwest 13th and 23rd.
Staff, do you have an input on that?
Yes, if Commissioner Cornett doesn't have anything else to offer under commission comments, I can go into that into the staff report at the tail end of your agenda.
Okay, very good. So ma'am, is there anything else that you'd like to bring up?
Nope.
Thank you very much. All right, staff, it looks like it's all yours.
All right. Well, as Commissioner Cornett noted, she had made a request for a follow-up speed and collision study on North Broadway Avenue between Northwest 13th and 23rd Streets at the end of the last meeting. What we had done is we had called together information that looks at Broadway Avenue, not just between 13th and 23rd, but we took it all the way down to Northwest 4th Street. What we had what we had found was that collision trends hadn't really changed. If any, in the 12 months before and the 12 months after, there were actually fewer collisions on that section from 13th to 23rd than there were in the previous 12 months. The reason why the speed limit had actually gone up in this particular section between 13th and 23rd is because this is a product of something that was originally brought forth by Tim Johnson on behalf of clients that he had in the Heritage Hills area. And what they had requested back in 2018 is they were seeking a speed limit increase on Broadway, and at the same time they were pursuing speed limit decreases on a couple of the streets that went up through the Heritage Hills area. And at the August meeting, the commission approved the speed limit increase on Broadway, and it deferred action on the speed limit increase or decreases that they were seeking on Chartel and Robinson. But at the commission's next month, they went ahead and approved those. So you can see that in the summary memo, the next to last paragraph on the first page, it's got a summary of the police department's activities where they'd issued 63 citations on this particular stretch. 59 were for violations deemed hazardous, such as speeding and failure to stop for stop signs. And then they had just a few others for violations that were not considered hazardous, which were things for like expired license plates or failure to provide proof of insurance. On the second page of our study, you'll note that there's a summary showing observed speed trends. And for the most part, you'll notice that on the section of Broadway where the speed limit was increased to 35, our 85th percentile speed that we observed typically ran in and around 35 miles an hour. I mean, the high spot we got was in the vicinity of about 18th Street, where our 85th was running about 40. But for the most part, the speed limit was running pretty much consistently in the mid to upper 30s. The interesting thing is when we had conducted a speed study on this section back in 2018, we found that the 85th percentile speed was around 37 miles an hour. And that was at the time when Broadway was posted at 30. And we're just talking about the section between Northwest 13th and Northwest 23rd Streets. So even with the speed limit being raised by 5 miles an hour, driver behavior has pretty much remained consistent. And likewise, in the section from 13th Street to the south, in late 2017, we had done a study on that in preparation for a case that was presented afterwards that was submitted on behalf of the Automobile Alley business owners. And that was a request to reduce the speed limit from 30 down to 25. The one thing that we found in that was that the 85th percentile, particularly on the section between Northwest 11th Street and Northwest 12th Street, was running at 35 miles an hour. At the time it was posted 30. And when we most recently studied it, it pretty much remained at the same 85th percentile speed, even though it's been posted down to 25. So those are our summary findings. And the one thing that I will note is that in past cases, we've used this model for setting credible speed limits in urban areas. It was prepared in 2013 by a lady named Linda Bellalite. I don't really know if anybody else nationally is using this particular methodology, but it seems to produce reasonable results as far as predicting what driver behavior is going to be based on the built environment that they're presented with. And when I talk about the built environment, I'm talking about like the number of lanes, the type of basically urbanized or rural setting that a roadway passes through, roadway width, whether parking's allowed, and presence of driveways and things like that. So actually even though it's not really a very scientific study on our part, the speed studies that we have done seem to validate what's the credible speed limits predicted in urban areas using this particular methodology. So if any members of the commission have got any questions for us regarding our findings, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah,
Stuart, the only follow-ups that I have, that does seem like a lot of people were pulled over for speeding still. So it kind of doesn't tell the exact same story. I mean, it was like 3 per hour of the time that the police were out there trying to cite people, trying to find people who are exceeding the speed limit. So it doesn't necessarily tell the same story that the speed study does. But the other thing that I had a question about was something that you and I have been talking about via email in the police reporting versus incidents that are happening that aren't necessarily reported to the police. And I think the original reason that this was brought to me is that if you go pretty much any day of the week, you'll see brake lines going into Winans Park right at the end of, it's probably 21st Street, right by the fire station, where people are running into light poles at that park because they're going so fast that they're not making that curve to go around close to Byron's, you know what I mean? And so without having any of the police reports, like what those incidents are those car on car collisions? Are those collisions with those light poles? I think there's not really a lot of information in this report that kind of explains really what we're trying to get to is that a thoroughfare that is causing people to speed and then hit it's not a roundabout, but the park, causing Oklahoma City to have to pay for the contractors to go out and replace the light poles, and then potentially causing a lot of dangerous activity if people are speeding and make that hit on that curb. So I think those are kind of my feedback on this report. If you care to respond to that, or if anybody else has any questions or answers to my musings.
Well, ma'am, for me personally, when we were wanting to go to 35, that was my number one concern was when they get to the firehouse, that sort of roundabout is really about 25. I just drove it earlier, later last week. And yeah, you have to slow down about 25. And then as you're going north and you try to go around the firehouse, but then take that little left and then to go north, I would just recommend two things to staff. Maybe a cautionary 25-mile-an-hour sign just going into that little roundabout kind of feel, and going southbound, the same kind of thing after the fire station. That little corner right there is really not a 35-mile-an-hour S curve right there. And then a second point I would ask if we could put in a work order to restripe, especially northbound right by the fire station. When you come around the fire station and you got to go left, it really gives a feel that you want to go straight. And of course, straight would take you into that parking lot area kind of thing. Those would be my two recommendations based upon any further comments. Anybody else have something?
Okay, Commissioner Kula, with respect to those, the items that you had just mentioned, we'll go ahead and have service requests issued this week to go ahead and have an advisory speed warning signs installed at both ends of the park area, and to get Broadway Avenue restriped.
Well, great. Thank you for your help, sir.
That's wonderful. Thank you. That's a great idea.
Okay. Staff, do you have any other comments or anything for the Traffic Commission?
Aside from our monthly reports on parking and yield controls installed administratively, we've got nothing else to add this month.
Okay. Before we press on, anybody else besides traffic commissioners that have anything for this meeting? Okay, do we have any traffic commissioners that want a second call for comments? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for the 19th of October, another phone conference. Let's make sure that we remember our passwords and work on this split screen kind of thing. That's how I have it. Zoom on the right side and the Oklahoma City meeting viewer on the left. And I have it both up at the same time, so maybe we can work on that a little bit and we'll be all set to go. So one last call. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
Is Francis still with us? No.
Yes.
I'll call you later, but I'm getting the motions, but I'm not getting the vote button isn't coming up for me. So I'll call and visit. with you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Two Francises, and I think you want the city clerk Francis.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry
I'll
about
call
that.
you anyway if you want me to. You probably know more about it than I do.
I'm good with Zoom, but not so much on PrimeGov.
Okay, I'll get a hold of Francis, the other Francis. Thank you.
Last call. Anybody else? Thanks everybody for your time and effort. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right.